Hey everyone, my name is Poisonblade and I hope all of you are doing well. So for today's video, I'm going to be building a Thomson Gazelle habitat, which is an addition to the Okapi habitat that I built in the last video, which I did by basically enlarging the Okapi habitat to include what you're going to see today, and then adding the Thomson Gazelles into their habitat or into the original Okapi habitat to go alongside the Okapis. And the idea for today's build was nature, demure and smallish, and you can already tell by the tone of my voice, but I should probably just burn that idea because it never really works out, and we end up with an aqueduct and a large-ish crane, among other things of course. But with that being said, let's get straight into today's video. So, I have to say this before we really get into the video, but if I ever seem stiff or grumbly or grouchy in today's video, it's because I'm in pain. And before anyone starts to worry about me, basically I started working out again, and this is coming from the guy who hasn't really worked out since high school, which by now is I think over half a decade ago, so yeah, the first week is always hell on earth, and then you also have to think about that I am a dumbass, because, I mean, after the first day of working out, things were sore, muscles were aching, and then, yeah, I didn't make it better the second day, because what this dumbass did was basically double the workout the next day. I have to give myself a little bit of credit because I didn't work out the muscles that were already aching, but what the end result was that anything that was already aching is still aching, and anything that wasn't aching basically is now painful to the point that I am almost incapable of movement. Well, that's dramatic, but then I'm a dramatic bitch, so yeah. Basically, I can't really move my arms too much, which kind of feels weird right now because when I make voiceovers, I'm a little bit more, I talk with my hands. Ow, ow. Trying to adjust my headset or the ear plugs, but yeah, that was already a sign. I can't really move my hands or arms, and my ass hurts because that's what squats will do to you. So you will probably hear it if I ever need to adjust my earplugs, because they, for some reason, when I'm in pain and can't really move my arms, they constantly want to fall out of my ears. So every time they sort of fall out, you will hear it. But anyway, yeah, I'm the kind of person that is like all or nothing. And then the third day I still tried working out, and I thought yeah, there's still some muscles that don't really hurt, so I could work out those, and you kind of see a pattern evolving here, where I basically go from one dumb move to another. But anyway, that's enough whining on my part, so let's get into the actual build, because otherwise, I mean, it's going to happen. This video is going to be all about me whining about painful muscles. But I'm fine, this is fine, it's just painful, and I hope my earplugs don't fall out again, or earbuds. Earplugs are a different thing. But anyway, so going over to the aqueduct. Well, the aqueduct is a little bit on the large size, but I used the sort of Assassin's Creed as a reference point because, of course, because in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood you could basically ride your horse across the aqueduct, so I wanted to make them larger. And also, irrigation is going to be a huge thing in the Elysian fields because they are closer to ground level, so the amount of fertile land is very much non-existent unless there's a heavy form of irrigation happening. And this build, or at least the bridge leading into this build, is underneath or right underneath the waterfall created by the royal palace, so I wanted to tie those areas together, and that's how this aqueduct formed. And I used a technique that Bosley showed in one of his videos to create basically a floating piece of water, or I'm just going to call it a floating plate of water or texture, because in Planet Zoo, water is basically just a texture. There's a some gameplay things when it comes to animals and water, but besides that, it's basically a texture. So if you can get a way to like dig the earth basin that the water is in away, so if you use the tunneling feature on the pots, you can get it away. Again, this is all Bosley's ideas, so there's all the credit for this should go to him, but I might not use this in every part of the Elysian Fields because it is a tricky technique, and I made the mistake of, well, it works well if you're in a rectangular thing like this, and that's also completely aligned to the world map, or to the world alignment, which is basically the red and blue arrows in the advanced move if you align the advanced move to the world map, or the just worlds. But if it's at any point on a different angle, it doesn't really work, or at least it's a lot more difficult. Also, if you just have a, well, I'm building the rest of the aqueducts so far right now, but I wanted to have that as like a single plate of water so that everything is the same level or the same height. Doesn't work out if there's an angle in the plate or texture of water, because then, well, what basically happened is I saved Kayan al-Bashar, thought I was finished, and then I reloaded Kayan al-Bashar and found out that the water was all glitchy, because of course this isn't the way Frontier intended the water to be used. And then I had to make it into 2 separate plates of water. And I already told you guys that if the water isn't aligned with the map, then it doesn't really work, because water in Planet Zoo doesn't conform to the actual basin that it is in actually. It's basically it's just a large number of small squares, and it kind of digs into the actual basin that you put it in, unless of course it's barriers, but for this technique I don't think you can use barriers. But yeah, on the piece of the aqueduct that is in a slight angle, or is on a slight angle, yeah, it's basically like broken glass, or at least there are some holes in the water. So had to change the aqueduct a little bit to hide that, because I couldn't get it to work perfectly, because, you know, the basin that it's supposed to be in isn't on the angle that the water is, so then it becomes very tricky to actually make it work. So there's a lot of changes that I made to this aqueduct just to hide those holes that are in the water. I still can't get over that I forgot the word earbuds also. But hey, at least my head isn't itchy, or like my earbuds haven't fallen out at any point since, so no screeching in pain from me. Yeah, if you hadn't noticed, today's video is all about my aching muscles, because, I mean, in the end, I kind of enjoy these videos the most, where the voiceover just doesn't make any sense, and then I can just laugh about it. Like, these are the videos that I might actually rewatch, because as soon as a video of mine hits YouTube, I usually don't rewatch them, because by the point that you guys have seen the videos, then I have seen the video 1,000 of times while editing. Yeah, the one video, or the one kind of videos that I do sometimes rewatch, is basically the ones where I am weird and in and ow, ow. Yeah, I jinxed myself when I said that the earbuds weren't falling out. Why do they start doing that when you don't want to move? Anyway, so going into... this is really a one-of-a-kind video, isn't it? But when I was building this area, it's basically a very large cliff, or, well, pillar in a way. And I thought, since the path is going through the arches of the aqueduct, and the aqueduct isn't really that spacious, or at least the area in between the arches isn't, so then I thought, oh, you know, some carts will not be able to get through there, so I just had the idea to put a crane which is going to function as an elevator, because some carts wouldn't be able to get through the arches, so they need to get up to another means, because not everybody in Kayan al-Bashar is rich enough to afford a floating or flying airship. I think that's not the right grammatically with like flying airship, because an airship already means it's flying. Yeah, I'm in one of those moods where I'm basically questioning everything and everything is funny. But anyway, so that's basically the entire idea, and then I found an image online on Pinterest of a crane that I wanted to replicate, and that's how we ended up here. Also, remember how I said in the intro that this build was supposed to be nature heavy? Yeah, I'm going to break that right now because there's no nature being built anywhere in this video. The rest of this video, well, maybe there's some small bits of nature here and there, but most of this video was just building aqueducts and cranes because, you know, never believe what I say in the intro basically. But I really had fun building this crane, like building these kinds of things like the cranes and like the small little... The other great build that I love is the barrel maker, which also includes like very small things to make that profession visible. And it's those things like the, well, making very minuscule details visible. That's the things that I love. Like, yes, I can build the Hagia Sophia, but if I can make a barrel maker, I'm even more happy than when I was building the Hagia Sophia. Also, granted, the Hagia Sophia was basically domes upon domes upon domes upon domes upon domes. So that kind of became a monotone experience for me after a while. While building a barrel maker or a crane such as these, it's always like new things, because I mean, I did not know how barrels were made back then. And then I also figured out that there needs to be a platform so that the cars can actually, you know, get off the... basically an elevator by this point. And the way I did that was, well, basically using the bridge as a idea or reference point. But then I first needed to, of course, make the, well, elevator part of it. Or basically the part where the cart is going to stay onto. And yes, the gypsy wagons don't fit into these things, because the gypsy wagons, I think, are like 5 meters tall, and ow! Earbuds, stay in my ears, please. I basically, again, going back onto my pain, I really had to decide, like, is dehydration such a bad thing? Because I also can't really raise a glass of water. Like, I have to make a really weird movement where I don't turn the glass to drink, I have to turn my entire body, because the one thing that doesn't hurt is my back. Well, it used to hurt, but now it doesn't. Yeah, I basically had to think, like, is that glass of water really that necessary? Like, you know. And also, this is just another way that I will hopefully never become like an egotistical narcissist who's overly full of himself, but I'm just going to tell this to you guys, but the way I've been getting out of bed is kind of hilarious and sad. Because I had to do strategic rolling. And yes, that really sounds as bad as it is, because basically what I've been doing is roll in such a way that my legs were over the edge of the bed first, and then use my legs as sort of a counterweight to raise the rest of my body up. And I was still in pain, because of course your legs aren't heavier than the rest of your body. That was fun. Also a really humbling experience, but there's another story that I can use whenever like I become all high and mighty about myself, but you know, I'm going to save that story for later. Well, I could tell you a little bit about the story, but no, we'll save that story for later, won't we? But anyway, so in the end, the crane really worked well, and the first idea for this crane actually, because it didn't really came out of nowhere. Of course, there's like the archers aren't large enough to allow larger carts to pass through, But the original idea actually that I had for this build was to make like a cliffside village with a large water wheel. Because yes, water was always going to be included in this build, although this was supposed to be the Demeter build with the statue of Demeter. Yeah, I have no idea where I'm going to place that statue now, but I wanted to first make a village built into the cliffside, basically sort of floating village, because I didn't want to attach it to the actual ground, just to the cliffside, and then have like a very large water wheel into the village. And that turned into this crane, slowly. Like I first dropped the idea of the water wheel entirely, and then I developed this crane. So never throw away ideas, because they might just come back. Hopefully the same will happen to my mobility. I mean, granted, I knew that this entire video was going to be about me being in pain, because I'm Dutch. Complaining is basically our national pastime. I mean, we are the people who also basically have an entirely separate language, basically built around complaining about the weather, which includes a lot of curse words and diseases made into curse words. Yeah, nothing is really off limits, I think, when it comes to complaining about the weather. Don't fact check that, or the entire complaining is a Dutch national pastime, because yeah, just believe me in that part. Well, actually don't. Never believe me when I sound slightly informative or educational. But anyway, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to lay down and probably not be able to get up again. So, hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, and well, there's the like button, of course. If you want to see more, there's the subscribe button and a bell button that recently started not working again anymore. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I wish you all an amazing day. Bye bye!